The following is a presentation of Muddy River News.
Your financial needs aren't independent of each other, so your financial advisors shouldn't be either. At Mercantile Bank, our experienced United Wealth professionals are united to serve you and your complete financial planning and wealth management needs. Are you just starting your investment journey or need to roll over a retirement plan? Do you need to plan for a loved one with special needs or for your own life after work? Maybe your business needs a succession plan or you want to enhance your employee benefit programs. Whatever steps you need to take, our United Wealth experts are ready to take them with you. Together, we are united.
Hi, this is Ron Kinscherf, and welcome to the Business Spotlight brought to you by Mccleery Bank. Dan Mccleery is with us, a practicing attorney here in Quincy, Illinois, and you have started your own practice.
That is correct.
Any particular reason why? Are you a control freak? Like to do your own invoicing and billing?
Part of that, it's nice to be your own boss, but so I worked in town for the last 8-9 years. And I just started over the last year and 4 months personal injury practice here in town. And we do only personal injury law and representing victims of personal injuries who, to no fault of their own, have been injured in some capacity.
Right.
So before I did this, I generally represented in personal injury cases insurance companies and the person who was at fault.
Okay.
But now I'm on the other side of it. And it's been so fulfilling. It's been awesome. I love meeting new people and representing them to get them, a lot of money.
So why did you become a lawyer?
So I was a sophomore at the University of Illinois, ILL, and I was in a fraternity, and it was time to decide what I wanted to do with my education. And I liked history a lot. I liked reading and writing papers and learning about our history, and I just became a history major. And then about a year later, I was like, well, what's this history major going to do for me? Right. Not much. I guess I could teach. But then I sat for the LSAT, and I went to law school.
Was there any point once you got to law school where you thought that, man, this was a bad decision?
No.
Or did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed law school quite a bit, especially law school classes that were like practical skills course, like trial advocacy, mediation classes, things that were practical and tangible that I knew I could take as a practicing lawyer.
How much did you learn in law school that you don't actually use?
A lot.
Okay.
To be
like
candid,
anything else
to be candid, there is a lot of academic pursuits in law school that aren't necessarily applicable to the day in and day out practice of law.
Okay.
But I will say there are things that I still draw upon from law school, like my torts class, which is basically a personal injury class, and those practical skills course I mentioned are the skills that you use every day.
Now, a Quincy lawyer, do you find yourself that you have to be a jack of all trades, but you only do personal injury, right?
So our Mccleery law is only personal injury.
Okay.
We don't do divorces. We don't do child custody issues. We don't do trust in estates. If you need a will or something like that, I can recommend a good lawyer for you. But no, we only do personal injury law. And part of that is because it's the area of law I find the most interesting. It's the area of law where I feel like I can help people the most. I want somebody, if I were the client or if I was the person going to a lawyer, I would want to know that person is experienced, well-versed in that area of law. So we dedicate 100% of our time and expertise to personal injury law.
So let's say that's an avenue you chose, personal injury. How many different avenues are there within the law profession? I think people might be surprised just how many there are.
Oh, man. I mean, real estate law, banking law. There's, businesses, HR, human resources, people who are small businesses or even, medium or large businesses have HR people. And that's an area of law that lawyers.
Become a big one,
healthcare is a huge area of law. And then, in Quincy, listen, criminal defense, civil practice, family law court, like all that stuff is huge and necessary for, a community. And we have a lot of great lawyers in town that do that stuff. Yeah.
Let's talk about personal injury. Guys kind of have a bad rap. Everybody's getting sued for everything is kind of what you hear around the country these days. And how would you respond to that?
So here's what I would say. So I was a defense attorney for 8 years where I represented insurance companies. And I will tell you that when I get a case, I know if it's a good case or not. and I know if it's a case worth taking or not. But I will tell you to that is that insurance companies, generally the big ones, like the billion-dollar insurance companies, the ones that you see on NFL TV ads and all that sort of stuff, those guys don't want to do the right thing all the time. They're not just going to voluntarily pay you what you might deserve or you might get in a court of law. So I've got no problem, representing someone who's been, unjustly hurt or unjustly put in a situation to no fault of their own, to get them compensation, get them what they should get.
Right. Is there a fine line, though, between what you're describing and then the other end of the spectrum?
Not really. If someone comes through my door and I can tell that it's a fake or a fraud or they're trying to scam money out of an insurance company, I'll turn them away. And I think a good personal injury lawyer would do that. But, it happens. But in our practice, we focus on, what was your injury? What was the mechanism of the fault? Who was at fault? And then trying to get a reasonable recovery.
So the instance of a car accident or any type of thing like that, the insurance company will pay a certain amount. So is it your determination whether the insurance company paid enough?
Exactly,
Is that
Ron.
what you do?
Okay, so exactly. So I have people come to me all the time where they're just like, I've been working with this insurance company on my own for 6 months, 8 months to a year, and I'm getting nowhere. They're either stonewalling me or they're offering me, pennies on the dollar on my medical bills. Me, as the lawyer, I know legally what they're entitled to,
right.
And the insurance company knows what I know. And so when I get involved, or when a personal injury lawyer gets involved, the insurance company is then forced to evaluate the claim as it's represented. And that's everything for people, because if you try doing it on your own, you are going to get not nearly as much.
So how do you determine, and I don't know how to describe this right, the soft areas, like the mental injury, that type of thing, where you don't have
that's
a
good
firm
question.
dollar amount necessarily?
So I can think of some cases that I've worked on over the years where someone is complaining of, like a mental anguish
PTSD,
or
that type of
PTSD.
thing, yeah.
I have cases, though, like, a pedestrian case where people will treat for that. I mean, there's great medical providers in our area that will treat you if you have PTSD or if you've been in an accident so traumatic that you're scared to get in a vehicle, or, you've been a pedestrian, you've been hit by a vehicle, you can see someone for that. So, that's kind of the gold standard, is you would actually treat with a medical provider.
Okay.
Now, in not sort of mental, emotional stuff, but just sort of pain and suffering, like waking up every day and your back kills because you were just in an accident, that kind of goes more to like pain and suffering. And, legally you are entitled to that amount if you are in pain and you have, been uncomfortable and you're suffering. It's kind of a weird word we don't use in everyday society, but but that is a itemized legal damage you'd be entitled to if you were in front of a jury.
How often do you cite case law? I mean, you always see that, it's Brown versus education, people get in front of the court and that type of, I don't want to say argument, that type of discussion.
In my practice, sometimes, I would say I do it more when there is like emotion or there's a legal fight based on some sort of legal case law. So, a lot of times in my arena, that can be a motion to dismiss. It can be a motion for summary judgment. And these are motions that a party will file to have the case decided based on the law.
Right.
But one of the things about personal injury law is that unless there's some sort of unusual area of personal injury law, a lot of times these cases are decided on the facts. And the fact finder is either the judge or a jury. So there's not a ton of, citing to case law, but there can be. Recently I had a case there's an insurance dispute. An insurance company is saying, we're not going to cover this case. And I'm saying to the insurance company, you should cover this case because of X, Y, and Z, and that's case law.
Okay. How much does the insurance company dictate whether a case goes on or doesn't go on? I mean, the judge is involved, you guys are involved, but
I would say the party who dictates whether the case continues forward in just a the vanilla personal injury claim is the plaintiff.
Okay.
So I tell this to all my clients, is that it's not my case, it's their case. all right? And they decide, based on my advice and the way I present the case, whether we should try and resolve the case, whether we should push the case, or whether we should take the case the whole way. Ultimately, it's their decision. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about personal injury law is that, unfortunately, if you do have a claim, you, the client, have the deciding decision on whether you want to move the case, resolve the case, do whatever.
So how often, maybe a percentage, how often do your cases end up in court? Or is your goal to settle?
So end up in court, I would say, half the cases end up in court, maybe a little more than half the cases.
That surprises me because I would think the settlement the insurance company wants.
Yeah, it's hard. Sometimes it's difficult to negotiate with the insurance companies before a lawsuit is filed. I wish it weren't that way, for my clients, so they would be able to recover faster. But unfortunately, an insurance company will not put a true value on the case until a case is filed.
Okay.
And that happens, I'd probably say, half the time.
What is your relationship generally with the legal counsel on the other side? And do you feel it's a David versus Goliath scenario when you talk to these larger insurance companies? Like they're trying to, that's Dan Mccleery, he lives in Quincy. We're not going to, he doesn't know, that type of situation.
So the funny thing is that a lot of the lawyers that I go against who are in Central Illinois are lawyers that I used to work with on the insurance side.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of them. But I mean, the number one rule I have for myself and conducting myself with other counsel or the insurance companies is civility. Respect them. Don't be a jerk. You're not going to get, any more money by being an a-hole. You're just not. But at the same time, you want to zealously advocate for your client and present their case in the best light. And that doesn't mean you're a super nice guy all the time, but it doesn't also mean you're a pushover.
Well, you can make your case. It's treat others like you want to be treated.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think that's a thing in business that people ought to forget is if you could treat people respectfully but still get your point across.
Absolutely. I just settled a case, and I got a little contentious with the insurance adjuster pre-suit. But you know what? She sent me an email after, and she said, it was a pleasure working with you. I appreciate, the willingness to approach this case reasonably, and that's kind of a compliment. So
you started your own business.
Yep.
What was your wife's reaction to when you came home and said, "Honey, we're doing it"?
Well, so we kind of started this business together. My wife, so it's my wife Allie and I that are doing this business. We have some people, some healthcare nurse consultants that we use sometimes in our cases, but primarily it's us. And from the beginning, she has been 100% a part of this.
Okay.
So she does all the business. She does all the business side of it. She does the books. She does the invoice, payments. She does. We get a settlement check. She does all the trust account stuff, and she does the marketing and advertising. So she worked for a corporate marketer. She worked at ADM actually for 5 or 6 years here in town. But before that, she worked for the Smucker company, jams and jellies, doing marketing with them. So she's doing all that for us.
So there was no wishy-washy, oh, honey, I just don't know if it's time yet, or dear, I just don't.
I don't,
it was 100% behind you.
Yeah, sometimes you just
Team
know.
effort.
Sometimes you just know in life you got to do something, and that was our feeling. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
Well, thanks for coming in.
Awesome, Ron.
Dan
Thank you so much.
Mccleery, personal injury lawyer here in Quincy, Illinois. I'm sure they can find all your information on your website.
Yeah, Mccleery-law.com, 217-846-4878 or 217-8-I'm-HURT.
There you go. This has been the Business Spotlight, brought to you by Mercantile Bank.
Your financial needs aren't independent of each other, so your financial advisors shouldn't be either. At Mercantile Bank, our experienced United Wealth professionals are united to serve you and your complete financial planning and wealth management needs. Are you just starting your investment journey or need to roll over a retirement plan? Do you need to plan for a loved one with special needs or for your own life after work? Maybe your business needs a succession plan or you want to enhance your employee benefit programs. Whatever steps you need to take, our United Wealth experts are ready to take them with you. Together, we are united.
Muddy River News. Our home, our news.